I hate my parents, but I love putting our business out there because it makes them so mad. When I moved in with my parents, I found out afterwards that they were thousands of dollars behind on rent, and I paid that. And then they wanted more money, so when I said no, they kicked me out and I was homeless. As if things couldn't get any worse, I tried to apply to many apartments, and I found out that my mom took out a $3,000 loan in my name right after they kicked me out. And then shocking, they didn't pay this loan, so within a couple of months it was affecting my credit negatively to the point where nobody would even rent an apartment to me. Living in a hotel was more expensive than any rent payment. It was about $950 a month for the cheapest hotel in my city. My mom made a Facebook post making fun of me because I was homeless, and she also called my job and let them know that I was homeless and that she filed a restraining order against me, which she didn't win, but it was still the inconvenience of telling my job. I really didn't think things could get any worse, but when me and my friend weren't cool anymore, she started sharing all of my secrets, including me being homeless, to a roast group page. So I had hundreds of people making fun of me for being homeless, and things kept getting worse. I was homeless, and my credit was trashed because of my parents, and my mom felt so proud of herself that she started making fun of that I was homeless on Facebook publicly for all of my friends and family to see. The cheapest hotel I could find in my city was about $950 a month, which is the same as a house payment. I also had a car payment, car insurance, student loans, and a phone bill. I didn't eat very much because I couldn't afford very much, so on most days I would eat like one TV dinner. My mom had been telling my siblings that if I wanted to just give her another month's rent, that she'd be willing to drop the restraining order and that I wouldn't have to lose my job and ruin my whole life. I stood my ground, I went to court, and I won. I got a second job and I started getting sick out of nowhere, so I went to the doctor thinking I was overworked, but they told me my next plan malfunctioned and I was pregnant. I had finally saved up enough for my own apartment, and then 2 months after that, I'd saved up enough for my own house and built my son's nursery. I'm sitting in my new house and I get a text from my sister saying my mom's homeless and she needs money. Funny how life works, isn't it?
I want to tell you about this one teacher in year 11 which uninvited me from prom and almost didn't let me get into my GCSE exams because of these three things that happened. So the first thing that happened was I got my phone taken away all the time, but my favourite teacher was the head of year, so I always guilt-tripped him into giving me my phone back. The teacher that hated me, he was always the one that caught me with my phone, and you'd have to wait until like the end of the week to get your phone back. So he would always stare at me like whenever I was getting my phone back by my head of year, but he didn't say anything because it was my head of year. And then second thing that happened was I got a lip piercing. I still have the hole, but I got it done when there was like 2 weeks left of GCSEs, and I thought everything would be fine. I'll just cover it with a plaster, no one will know. And no one did know. I don't know how he found out, but he came up, the teacher that hated me came up from behind me. He was like, I see your lip piercing, you take it out right now or you will not be able to go into your GCSE exams. And I was like, I physically can't unscrew it. And he was like, well, you're not going in then. But I went and lined up outside my exam hall anyway, and my favourite teacher, the head of year, was like, I don't want you to have it in. I know you can't take it out right now. You can still do this exam, but you're not going to have it for the other exams. And I was like, okay, cool. I went in, I did my GCSEs, and when I was coming out, the teacher was staring at me like, because he knew that I just won, because I still went and did my GCSE exam with the piercing in. And then the third thing that happened was, I wanted to go home early after one of the GCSE exams, so I faked that I have a doctor's appointment. So they let me go without a doctor's note or anything. They let me go home early. Then the next day, I came back into school and they were like, we're gonna need a doctor's note. And luckily I came prepared. I pulled a fake one out and I was like, here it is. And they said, we know it's fake. We called your GP. And I was like, well, shit, it's out there now, isn't it? So I went into class. I knew I was going to get in a lot of trouble. The teacher that hated me pulls me out. We're outside the canteen now. Lunch just started. Everyone's there and he starts screaming at me. I don't know if he waited for everyone to be there, but he just wanted to embarrass me. He starts screaming at me saying, don't think about coming to prom. Don't think about coming to our sixth form. I've informed your college. And I was like, informed my college about what? He was like, about what you did. There's no way you're going there now. And I was thinking, I am 2 steps ahead of you because I told you the wrong college that I wanted to go to because I knew something like this would happen. And then I still went, passed all my GCSEs, went to the college I wanted to, but I just didn't go to prom. It got cancelled anyway, so who's the dumb one now? No one went to prom.
Am I the asshole for calling my ex-wife a crazy bee for trying to break our daughter and her boyfriend up so she can date the boyfriend's dad? My ex and I have a daughter, Elena. Elena has been dating Eric for about 8 months now. Things have been going really well for them. My ex is active in Elena's school community and recently met Eric's dad at a school function. From what I understand, they hit it off and were moving in the direction of seeing each other. That is, until Eric's dad found out that my ex is the mother of his son's girlfriend. He thought that things would be weird and awkward if they started dating, so he made it clear to my ex that there were no longer a possibility and why. My ex did not take that well. According to what Elena told me later, her mom came home drunk one night and started mumbling at her about how she was a burden who always ruined her happiness. The next day, my ex didn't remember or pretended not to remember and thanked Elena for taking care of her when she was drunk. But it didn't take long before my ex started telling Elena how she didn't think Eric was right for her. She told her they have a 2-year age gap and will be separated for at least that long when he went to college, and that it would be better to break it off now. Elena was upset and they got into a fight bad enough that she came to spend the night at my place. I told her that her mother was full of it, and if the guy's not hurting her, it's none of her mother's business who she dates. Things calmed down for a bit before suddenly escalating. Instead of simply telling my daughter it would be best to break up with Eric, my ex started actively trying to sabotage their relationship. Examples include telling Elena she saw Eric with another girl, talking up and trying to introduce Elena to one of her friend's kids, and even stealing Elena's phone so that she could use it to text Eric to say that they were done. After resolving the misunderstanding with Eric, Elena had an even bigger fight with her mother, before finally realizing the reason why she was doing this. She wanted to get together with Eric's dad, but he wouldn't be with her because the kids were dating. Elena lost it and called her mom a crazy bitch and came over to live with me. When I got the full story, I was livid. I called my ex to ask her what the fuck she thought she was doing. She said her love life wasn't any of my business. I told her I don't care about her love life. I care about our daughter. Then I asked her why, if Eric's dad wouldn't be with her.
Under the back porch there it lay. As a kid I lived with neglectful parents at best. At worst Dad would turn his screams and fists on me, but I learned quickly how to dodge the worst of it. Mom wasn't much help. She'd just smoke in the kitchen and bitch at him for staying out so late. At the time we lived basically in the middle of nowhere. Our nearest neighbors were a long walk away for a 6-year-old and we had trees between us. No one to run to for help. But I was pretty small for a kid my age. I learned I could fit pretty much anywhere. The closet. Dryer. I think even once I tucked myself under my futon in such a way I could still get some air but no one could see me. I was a master at hiding. But it wasn't for a good reason. One night I chose to do something different. I could hear it in Dad's yells. He was pissed and was about to get violent. Mom wasn't helping either, just piling fuel onto an inferno of a flame. So I knew I had to find a good hiding spot. I'd gotten the idea a few days before, when I realized the lattice covering the bottom half of the back porch had a hole in it. Not big enough to fit a full-grown man, most likely, but it could fit a skinny 6-year-old no problem. So wrapping myself up in my blanket and grabbing my hippo stuffy, I snuck out my window and ran into the backyard. In the middle of autumn, when it was 40 degrees out and the temperature was steadily dropping, I crawled under the porch, scraping my elbows and getting splinters in my palms, but I fit inside. It was actually quite spacious compared to most my hiding spots. I couldn't sit up all the way, but I had plenty of room to spread out my limbs. Of course I was also getting covered in dirt. It had rained a few days ago, so the mud was still a little wet. I wrapped myself in my blankie the best I could and settled in for the night. But soon, even with my blankie and my hippo, my teeth were chattering so hard I could barely breathe. I didn't want to go back inside though, knowing if my dad caught me I'd be in for the whipping of my life. So I had to tough it out. "Honey, are you cold?" That voice was not the voice of my mother, scratchy from all the smoking and screeching she did. It was sweet, like honey. I turned over to see the dim outline of a woman, lying on her stomach next to me. She had a pretty butterfly necklace and was just as dirty as I was. I nodded, not wondering how she'd been down there without me noticing. The woman belly crawled forward and wrapped her arms around me, and suddenly I became warm, like I was sitting next to a campfire. I snuggled into her arms, not minding the mud. After all, we were both dirty. "You've gotten so big," the woman said, examining my face. "How old are you now, Alex?" 6. How did I know this woman again? I didn't think I did. 6. The woman gasped. "You're all grown up then. I'm so happy," she sighed pleasantly and stroked my hair. I'd never felt so cozy in my life. "What's your name?" I asked. She smiled, I could hear it in her voice. "I'm Lily. What's your favorite thing to do?" I had to think for a second. "I like board games. And coloring," Lily chuckled. "Just like me then. Could never get enough of Scrabble. But I guess you're still too young to play that, huh?" I nodded. "Lots of words. I wanna play it though. I like the tiles. Would you play with me?" I heard Lily sharply inhale. I don't think I can. Your daddy put me under here, and I can't leave. But... She thought for a second. Alex, could you do me a favor? Of course. This lady was oh so nice. Why wouldn't I do her a favor? When you wake up in the morning, go to the police station. Ask for an officer by the name of Lowell Joyce. Tell him where to find Lily, okay? Under your back porch. He'll come and he'll get me, okay? And then maybe we can play Scrabble, yippee. I was too excited about the possibility of playing Scrabble to notice how Lily's voice caught at the end. I nodded vigorously. I'll do it. We can be on the same team, right? Lily softly laughed. I'll help you understand the rules. Good night, Alex. When I woke up the next morning, I heard Lily's voice. Go now. Your dad's gone to work. I'll tell you how to get to the station. Rubbing my eyes, I crawled out from under the porch and went into the house to grab my shoes and a coat. I shivered in the frosty cold. But I thought Lily was right behind me. After my shoes and coat were on, I started walking. It was long enough to get to the neighbor's house. I really can't remember how long it took to get to the police station, although I have no idea why no one pulled over to see what the hell a 6-year-old in dirty pajamas was doing walking alongside the road. Lily kept guiding me onward. Wait. Okay, cross the street now. Turn right here. Keep going. You've almost made. I nearly collapsed with exhaustion by the time I walked into the station. The guys out front chatting and having a good time didn't see me until I almost made it to the front desk. Whoa. Kid. You okay? One of the officers knelt down to my level, eyes wide. I nodded. I'm okay. Can I speak to Lowell Joyce? I asked. One of the other officers picked me up. Sure kid, sure, let's just get you someplace warm. Holy shit, your lips are blue. I remembered quietly scolding the man about watching his language. Shit was a bad word. I was given some warm cocoa and wrapped up in a blanket by the time an old man with a graying mustache sat by me. Hey kid. I'm Sheriff Joyce. What's your name? He asked. Alex. I set down my cup and looked him straight in the eye. I was told to tell you that Lily is under the back porch. You need to go let her out so we can play Scrabble. I had never seen a grown man turn pale before. Lots of things blurred together at this point. I remember being taken back to my house and there were a lot of police cars and people around. The back porch was surrounded by yellow tape, and someone was taking a black bag away while my dad was in handcuffs. After that, I lived with my grandparents, Sheriff Joyce and his wife. I tried to ask about what happened and who was Lily, but I always got shut down. I was too young to know, but life got better. A lot better. Grandpa was the best man I could have hoped for in my life. We went out on weekends to the movies where he let me have the giant soda even though I'd have to pee in the middle of the movie. When I asked if I could drink when I was 13, he let me try a beer. I spat it out and didn't touch it again. He never judged me for my love of art, letting me paint my own bedroom multiple times over the years. I felt safe around him. He never laid a hand on me. My grandmother was amazing too. Over the week she'd homeschool me along with teaching me things that you wouldn't learn in a school, such as how to respect others but not take their crap, and cooking. Lots of cooking. I could make my own birthday cake by the time I was 12. But I usually just made them for my friends. I got a lot of those, after I was free from my dad. When I turned 16, Grandpa took me back to my dad's house. The whole thing had been bulldozed over. But I could still see the yellow tape wound around a few trees, faded and torn. We sat together on the back of his truck. He opened a beer and drank half of it before setting it down and grabbing me an orange soda. After I'd drank it he told me, Lily was your mother. Good thing he didn't tell me as I was swallowing. I likely would have had it coming out of my nose. My mom? I questioned, confused. Your actual mom. The woman who lived with your dad was not your mother. My granddad grabbed another beer. Lily was my daughter. I loved her so much. But when you were around 6 months old, she vanished. My stomach dropped. My dad just imprisoned her under the porch? I asked, starting to feel sick. Grandpa took a deep breath before setting his unopened beer down. That's something I've never been able to understand. Lily told you to find me? And that she loved Scrabble? Yeah. She kept me warm that night. I probably would have frozen to death if she hadn't been there. I was a stupid kid, even I knew that. Grandpa went dead quiet before he opened that beer and slammed the whole thing. Alex, Lily had been dead the whole time she was gone. When we dug her up she was bones. Experts confirmed it, and your dad confessed to what happened. They'd gotten into a fight and he threw her down the stairs. She broke her neck. He clenched his fists. I knew he had something to do with her disappearance, but I never had proof until you walk into my station, covered in dirt and telling me she was under the porch. I was floored. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was shake my head. But I saw her. She was alive. She had this butterfly necklace. I trailed off when Grandpa pulled an evidence baggie from his pocket. There was that butterfly necklace, all right. Rusty, and parts of the paint had chipped off, but I remembered it as clearly as I remembered Lily's voice. Grandpa took a shaky breath as he pressed the bag into my hands. Lily loved you so much. That's why she stuck around that bastard. You were her whole world. She was constantly taking pictures and sending them to us in the mail. Sometimes a mother's love can accomplish things that no human can do. My eyes overflowed with tears as I clutched the necklace to my chest. Choking on sobs, I leaned against Grandpa. He held me tight and I swear I felt a few of his tears land on the top of my head. And for just a brief moment, I swear I felt that warm love I felt that night under the porch.
Let me tell you about my really embarrassing first kiss story. So I was 15, it was in a park, the guy was also 15, and he's already had with girls, multiple girls. So obviously I didn't want to be bad. I was really nervous. But like walking around in the park, he was like 6'4" and I was 5'3", so it would be even worse if we were standing up. We sit down on a bench and I'm like looking away because I'm so nervous. He grabs my thigh and he goes, "Just do it." So I open my mouth like really wide and I'm like, and he goes in for a peck at first because he knew it was my first kiss, so he goes in for a peck, but obviously my mouth is wide open, so it's like, oh wait, that's gonna be weird. You can imagine how that went. I pull away and I'm like, well, that was awkward. I made it even worse by saying, well, that was awkward. And then he leans in again, he tries to kiss me again. My mouth is wide open again. And he pulls away and he's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's not fine, but thanks for the reassurance. I really needed it. But that ended up being the worst mistake of my life because he's actually the guy that I dated for like 2 years and he cheated on me and gave me all these issues. So, yeah,